Hello, everyone, and welcome to Seriously Loco, the Seriously Crazy fan podcast for El Paso Locomotive FC. I'm your host, Phil Bakke, and I am joined tonight by my co-host, Mikka Burrell. Mikka, happy Monday. How was the weekend, despite the disappointment?
Yeah, not too bad. Happy belated Mother's Day to all the mothers listening. Hope y'all had a great holiday. The weekend wasn't too bad. Took my mom to like an early dinner downtown. But yeah, otherwise pretty chill weekend, all things considered. And yourself, Phil?
Yeah, I took my parents out for some lunch in DC on Saturday, which was a feat because they do not ever want to go to the city. So I took them to Navy Yard, and there's this restaurant called the Salt Line. Got some good seafood.
Ooh.
And it was very, very tasty. And and then just a chill Mother's Day.
Now you did jump the gun on Orioles Nats.
Yeah,
that's still happening, right?
That is still happening next Saturday. Yes.
Okay.
So yeah, no baseball this weekend, but yeah, we're going on Alex Ovechkin bobblehead day as well.
I saw that. I'm like low key jealous. I hope you get one.
So it's first 20,000 fans, and I think they'll be lucky to get 20,000 in a Nationals game this year. So.
Okay. Then you're like.
So I think we'll be okay. They're not a very good baseball team. So, honestly, I'm more worried about Orioles fans showing up and copping the OV bobbleheads.
I hope they have yellow laces on them.
They gotta, right?
Right, like, you have to.
But that's yeah, cool. So yeah, that is still happening despite the false start. So obviously lots to talk about today. A loss out in Oakland in the Coliseum for Locomotive 2-1 with 10 men, which Mikka, I mean, shameless plug, Mikka wrote about it on our Patreon, and it happened again. So it's is it a discipline problem? Is it a mentality issue? Is it just sometimes you're slow and run across a guy's legs and put yourself in a tough situation? Like, I don't know what maybe there's something going on. But yeah, so if you're new here, you can find our podcast wherever you find podcasts, and you can find us on Patreon, where Mikka's been doing the lion's share of the work. Yeah, so check those things out. And we obviously then have a very big break in Locomotive action. It'll be more than 2 weeks. It'll be almost 3 weeks before they play again on May 27th in the USL Cup on a Wednesday night in El Paso. But there's also a signing that's been teased, which we'll talk about later this episode. I think this might be the most heavily hinted at signing maybe in the history of the club, in that we've kind of known about this for a long time. Mm-hmm. And it may and is finally happening, I guess. And by the time you're listening to this, it's likely been announced. But with all that being said, Mikka, Oakland, California, it felt a little closer to how Locomotive games in California have gone historically rather than how they've gone maybe more recently.
And that is to say, badly.
Bad.
Yeah. Every time we go west, man, it's something. I mean, Oakland Roots 2, El Paso Locomotive 1. Another defeat. We've only got one win in our last 5, if I'm not mistaken. So it's been a bit of a struggle recently. As far as results are concerned. Once we fell off in U.S. Open Cup, it's been rough seas ever since. But yeah, no, we fell to Oakland ultimately. It's difficult to like the Houston game in the U.S. Open Cup, I find it a little bit difficult to analyze this game because you do have to mitigate for the fact that we were down to 10 men for most of it. And, statistically and realistically, that's always going to be a tough task and a tough hill to climb. So perhaps there wasn't much we could expect from this once we did go down to 10 men, but it still is disappointing given that we started fantastically, I would say. And yeah, ended up with nothing to show for it.
Yeah, there's not a lot of games where you open the scoring in the second minute and come away with nothing. That it's not often going to feel good. That being said, so lineup wise, this is an interesting one, and we got a question along these lines because the lineup is it's a back five, and we've seen Junior kind of go between back four, back five, depending on the what we thought, at least, depending on the center backs that he had available. But in this one, he opts for Palermo Ortiz alongside Kofi Chumasi and Tony Alfaro, who have obviously been, I would say, the most consistent center back performers, and Chumasi's been basically undroppable when he was not available for those few games after Houston. It was rough seas. And Tony Alfaro's had a bit of a renaissance season in that he's kind of back. I would say somewhat unexpectedly. He's showing just how good of a center back he can be on his day. That being said, playing the back five leads to changes further up the pitch, and it led to this question from Nico11. He was referencing an article that was written by John Morrissey, USL Tactics, in the power rankings. He was talking about the fact that we have something that works in the 4-3-3, and Nico says, I'm all for tactical nous, but let's ride with what we've seen work. Would it help to stop moving Mendes around? Thoughts. So when we choose these lineups, it leads to impacts further up the field, and Alex Mendes is the one called out here, but it really impacts the entirety of midfield. What do you make of the selection, and do you put credence in the fact that Junior should stick to what's been working in the 4-3-3, and maybe he's tinkering a bit too much?
Yeah, it's an interesting one because I think if you ask Junior Gonzalez, he would admit that he's been changing a lot of things and still trying to ascertain what his best team is. And maybe he thinks his best team is genuinely something different every time, and we can debate the merits of that, and I suppose we will. Personally, I am partial to the 4-3-3. I just think it allows our best players to be in their best positions. I think Alex Mendes in particular, I think he's just wasted in a wide area. And you can say, he kind of drifts anyway and gets kind of into midfield. But I think we see the downfalls of that, the pitfalls of that, I should say, when we're getting done repeatedly in the wide areas, because that numerical advantage just isn't there. Because him in particular, his tendency or his instinct is to come centrally. And I want to read John Morrissey's reply. He said, my 2 cents, this team is best with Mendes in the center of the park. If that means you've got to use Quesada at right wing, it's worth it. I agree 100%. I think Quesada can do that job. I think he's fantastic as a fullback, to be fair, in a 4, and Quesada sets up the goal in this one. And I think he and Ruiz have, by and large, been very good on the season. But yeah, I think Mendes is wasted in a wide area, which tends to happen lately. I think he should be a number 10 or an 8 that has more license to get forward. But I think even more so than that, quality players like him will always find a way. And I think, he's still been contributing, even though he's been kind of shunted out wide. I think the bigger issue for me is just the chopping and changing in defense and in net. We're still doing this 2-game rotation between Abraham Romero and Sebastian Moramora, and I mean, I think sometimes we don't think of the defense as like a unit with that includes the goalkeeper, but we really should because I mean, in the modern game, that's who's really directing a lot of the traffic, who is, um, you know, playing the ball. I mean, we've seen that, of course, right? Um, and I mean, in this one, Alfaro, Ortiz, and Tomassi are the back three. Arguably, those are our three best center backs. So, on paper, maybe that's not so alarming, but then you think back to how we started in New Mexico, a 2-2 draw in the derby, and that was Cardona and Dollemeyer. So it's like there's just with Mora in goal. So there's just no continuity whatsoever game to game on a road trip. I totally understand the concern maybe and the instinct to want to get your entire squad involved as much as possible. You need buy-in immediately. You're new at the club. You want everyone to feel involved and you want to see what everyone can do. But yeah, it might be just a little bit too much at this point. I mean, how many games in have we played now? Like at least across all competitions, more than 10, I think, at this point. So
yeah, or at least 10.
At least 10. So I think at this point it would be reasonable to expect that Junior Gonzalez knows kind of who his starting 11 is. Then again,
9 league matches, so probably 12, 13, maybe 12 or 13.
All things considered, the cups and everything, yeah. So I think it's reasonable to expect that he should know who should be starting week to week. That being said, I feel a little bad saying that because it is a marathon, not a sprint, and it's only May, right? And we do have games in different competitions, save for this month, but we've had them every 4 days. So it's difficult. I don't envy that decision, that decision-making process, because I'm sure it's difficult. But when the results are not coming, you do kind of have to wonder if that chopping and changing is having, the intended effect or not.
Yeah, and I think when you've got players who are difference makers, it is okay to fit the system around them. And I'm not saying that you don't have to rotate. Of course you do. I'm not saying that you don't have to, try to pick the best side and the best shape for a particular matchup. But to your point, building any sort of consistency is very difficult right now, particularly defensively. And I think that has been showing. I think we also, talked about at the beginning of the season that the defense was the concerning area because did we strengthen enough and did we do all this? Well, now there's a whole other angle that we didn't talk about being induced, which is this inconsistency of selection, where whether it's availability or quality or performances or whatever that's driving the inconsistency, there just aren't the partnerships being developed that you would want to see, where when you think about the elite defensive units, not just in USL, but in world football, there are the same people mostly playing every single game.
Right.
And so it's just very tough to build any sort of consistency there. You mentioned the goalkeeping situation. I was listening to a Liverpool podcast today talking about the fact that Alisson might be off in the summer for Juve. That's and there was basically a debate about Mamardashvili saying if you bring in competition for him, you're essentially creating a bigger issue, which is if you have two goalkeepers, you have no goalkeepers, basically is the argument. Of if you don't have a one, you kind of have a zero. And unfortunately our goalkeeper literally wears the number 0, but that's that's neither here nor there. So the selection I thought was a little bit interesting because of what happens later in the game. So I'll pause there on the selection because I'm going to table this until after the sending off, because this is the one thing that I do want to analyze. But first, like you said, we came out of the gates absolutely storming, and the opening goal, it comes from a sequence of like really good pressing from Locomotive, very high energy, quick movement of the ball, and like back to front passing. And the immediate sequence, one thing that really stuck out to me is we talk about when we play this back five, it sometimes displaces Mendez out to the wing. Quezada was playing in this wing back spot, Rubin in the 9, and then Moreno out on the left. But the interesting thing about this goal is that the way that it comes about, Moreno actually drops off to receive the ball, and Mendez tucks in to a 10 area, so sort of where we want him to be on the field, and it creates the space for Quezada on the overlap, which you could also create in a 4-3-3, but, however you want to shape it. Quezada has acres of space, and Rubin is able to do this delayed sort of come back on side to be like he's offside to come back on side as the line retreats. The ball's ahead of him, so it doesn't end up mattering anyway. But anyways, it's his flowing move, a lot of very slick passing, but it all comes from people being in the sort of positions where they either draw people with them, like Moreno dropping a little bit deeper draws attention to create space for Rubin to make this run, or Mendez tucks in to create space for Quezada to go on the overlap. But they're all operating in positions where you want them, which is Mendez central being able to play make, Quezada on the wing able to shape a cross, and Rubin right inside the 6-yard box, ready to tuck that in the back of the net. So this felt like, despite the shape, people operating in the right areas, and maybe out of the gates, it felt like juniors nailed it.
Yeah, and to be fair, if we had gone on, or if we had not gotten the red card, who knows? Maybe we put 2, 3, 4 more on them. I think the issue is not with the attack, though, when we play 3 at the back.
No.
It's when the ball's coming the other way is where we see more confusion, more space. And I think you're absolutely right to point out that, people were still getting in the places we want them to be, whether it's 3, 5 at the back, 4 at the back. On paper, it doesn't matter. The modern game is more about roles than it is about fixed positions. And we saw that. And yeah, the move is fantastic. You pointed it out, and I think this was probably the most striking thing to me, is the quickness of the ball movement, because that's what catches sides out, right? When they can't retreat quickly enough and get into their shape quickly enough because you're moving the ball fast. So I love that. I love that about the goal and about the way that we play. And I think that I don't think it's any surprise that Rubio Rubin has just flown out of the blocks, right, in Locomotive Blue, because he's been able to get into those spaces and get the ball to him quickly that, goalkeepers can't deal with him. So yeah, that near post run is really good. He's, head on swivel the entire time, anticipating the movement, and Quesada plays a really good pass to him, and he's able to finish. But yeah, it's really when the ball goes the other way that this shape, that there are deficiencies. And I think we saw that pretty quickly after we scored this goal. They had several balls into wide areas where there was just nothing but green grass. And ultimately, I guess we pay for that.
This is I think the red card itself, so it happens in the 18th minute. It's a short free kick taken inside their own half by Oakland. And then a long ball is played from center back over the top towards Prentice, I guess it was, running in behind. He's running off the shoulder of Palermo Ortiz. Now, this, to me, is sort of I don't know. I feel like we see this a lot in the modern game, in that a team is playing a high line but isn't pressing high enough to put pressure on that pass, which means that there's just a lot of time for the person to pick the pass and a lot of space in behind. So there's There's not the pressure on the ball to rush the pass, and there's plenty of space behind. Whereas if you play a very, very high press, then there's no time. And that's your hope, is that you harry people to the point where they can't play that pass in behind because you're playing such a high line, or you play deeper because you're not putting the pressure on the ball, and it gives you the chance to not have the space in between the back line and the keeper to play these sorts of balls. Unfortunately, like, we are kind of doing neither. There's not enough pressure on the ball. It's played into Prentice, and he is running off the shoulder of Palermo. We've got 3 center backs against 2 guys, but the center backs are having more trouble contending with the space than the men, if that makes sense. And so Palermo, he tries to get across. Listen, the foul itself it's not a foul in the sense that, like, that sort of contact in most situations is probably not going to generate a whistle. That said, when you run across the back of an attacking opponent's legs as they're in full sprint, you are giving the referee a decision to make. And while the contact is minimal in that it's like Prentice's heel hits Ortiz's knee as he's in his natural running motion, it does send him to the ground. And he is the last man. So it is essentially like the referee kind of has, like, I was annoyed by it at first, but I think I was more annoyed by the fact that it happened, to where it kind of has to be a red card, just because, like, there's no way there is contact. It's not purposeful. He's not trying to hack him down or anything. But we see that done by a lot of defenders, where they run across the back legs as a way to be like, I'm not touching him, but I am bringing him down. That's like a very common tactic. So yeah, in the end, it unfortunately, the contact's there. And while it's extremely soft as far as reds go, for the amount of contact, he does go down. He's the last man, and he gives the referee the decision to make. But what did you make of of this moment from Palermo?
I mean, I think, first of all, that you are right to call out that this is a system breakdown, where the spacing is wrong because, like you said, the line is high, but the press isn't high enough to compensate for that and squeeze the pitch. And what I find really troubling about this is that this is not the first time that this has happened to us. This is why San Antonio scored a 60-yard fluke against us, because we were not putting enough pressure on the center back carrying the ball. I think I don't even know
Kofi's red card in Houston is, like, I think, like, basically a carbon copy of of a long ball played over the top.
Mm-hmm.
And he's got to go chase somebody down.
Yeah, and in that one, I think there's a little more mitigation in that one, because I think the pass is just ridiculous, and the run is perfect. This one, I think, is more of like a San Antonio type, where it's just like there's like one person pressing, the midfield's static. And then if I were to put any blame on Palermo Ortiz specifically, he's got the complete wrong side of his man. And yes, the ball is quick and it's over the top, and, maybe he's judged the flight of it wrong, but I just expect someone with as much experience as him to get on the right side of his man. He never has to run across Wolfgang Prentice's legs if he's got the right side of his man, but he's outside him. Like, Wolfgang's kind of like making like a half space run. Like, it's really weird. Mm-hmm. And I just think maybe this also shows, like, the discomfort that maybe these players have with, like, the constant, like, system changing in the back. But number one, I think it is a system breakdown, and number two, I think maybe Palermo can be a little bit better individually with his positioning. But I think you're right that at the end of the day, like, I don't know what else the referee's meant to do but send him off. And that's why these challenges are so annoying, because, like you said, he's going full pelt. Like, the slightest touch will send someone running full pelt flying. And if it was the other way around and Rubio Rubin got clipped through on, I'd be screaming for this red card. So I feel it's only fair to acknowledge that it is probably one. Yet again, I mean, you kind of hinted to it at the top of the show. I did write a piece on Patreon recently called "Does El Paso Locomotive FC have a discipline problem?" Ultimately, I concluded not necessarily. I mean, I think, yes, of course, like we're getting way too many red cards, and that's just a fact. But I don't think it's because this team is dirty.
Is it the fifth sending off?
So there's been Coffee, Eric, Palermo, Gabby, just back from suspension.
So 4.
Yeah, so yeah, 4.
4 sendings off out of what did we say, 12 or 13 competitive matches that we played? Like that's May. Insane.
It is unsustainable.
There will be many teams that don't get 4 red cards this year.
Right.
Like,
which is why I say, like, that's ridiculous, and therefore you have to, if you're not a dirty team, then what's going on? I do think we're a little bit unlucky sometimes.
Mm-hmm.
But at the same time, like we just said, this red card is so reminiscent of previous incidents, of the Coffee red card, of the San Antonio goal that's over Romero's head. And Junior Gonzalez has already acknowledged as much of, like, we didn't put enough pressure on the ball and we allowed this ball over the top and we get done. So yeah, there's a lot of things wrong here. It's unfortunate that this has happened yet again. I think really the only red card Gabi Torres I think that's probably the only red card that I'm like, yeah, like
it's like the reddest card.
Yeah, all the others
like
are like
relative to the others
in terms of like the foul. Yeah, whereas Eric's is like I still don't know if like what he did was purposeful. That seemed extremely unlucky.
Yeah,
and then these two are just like those are red cards because the rules say so.
Right. Yeah.
So yeah, it's and what I point out in this piece, spoiler alert, is it's not the amount necessarily, although that is concerning. It's who's getting the red cards. It's veterans. Palermo Ortiz, Eric Calvillo, the captain, Gabby Torres, over 100 appearances in USL Championship. Kofi Tomasi, arguably our best center back. Like, we cannot keep going without these players. These are important players.
Yeah.
Right? Like, and
in terms of just importance, Kofi Chumasi is like second only to Rubio Rubin and or maybe third. Alex Mendez and Rubio Rubin, and then Kofi Chumasi closely behind.
Right, yeah. And so this cannot continue. Obviously, it cannot. And I do think we're not a dirty team. I don't think we're a reckless team. I think we're naive, and I think we're unlucky sometimes.
Silver lining, Ortiz is suspended, so it means we're less likely to play a back 3 or a back 5 in the next.
Which seems so harsh to say, because I do think Palermo he's had a torrid start. Let's be honest. Which game was that where he got an assist right at half and then got subbed and he was horrid?
Oh, San Antonio.
Was it San Antonio? Yeah. So like
it was a meme, unfortunately.
Yeah. So he's had a tough time, and and I think I've spoken about this before. Even this season is like, we haven't been able to see what he's really good at because he's too busy like running back towards his own goal.
Mm-hmm.
And so we're just not putting him in certain instances. I don't think we're like putting him in a position to succeed necessarily. So, but that's a whole nother discussion. But yeah, he's off, and we are hanging on for dear life from the 18th minute on.
So I wanted to talk about the reaction to the red card, because the commentators noted on this, and the commentators were kind of making me laugh all night, but I was like very much like, you don't even know the personnel we have available or whatever, because they're like, well, normally, when a center back gets sent off, like they'll make a defensive substitution, down to 10 men, but Locomotive have opted to just like stick with what they've got. Junior does not make a sub in the aftermath of the sending off, and doesn't for a while. Or I guess at halftime he made subs, right? So because then it was 1-1. Maybe.
Right, yeah.
I think he makes subs at halftime. But anyways, he doesn't react initially, and to me it was interesting because I'm like, well, yeah, he essentially gets to go to a 4, call it however you drop people in there, you go to a 4-4-1, and just play 2 banks of 4, all good. That's the best way to play with 10 men. But that's not really what happened, because it felt like almost they were playing the same system just with one less center back, which isn't the same thing.
Yeah, I think the first couple changes are around like the 67th minute thereabouts, but yes. Otherwise.
Oh, so he did not make halftime subs?
No, I don't believe so.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah. So he kind of sticks to the plan, but to me it was a bit of an admission, and it felt like an admission that like, well, yeah, this is fine because this back 4 is also like a viable selection. But other stuff about the team would have had to change to make it that, like, with 10 men. You know what I mean? Like, because everybody else kind of kept doing their thing. And let's be honest, as much as, like, we are big fans of what Alex Mendez brings and players like Amano Moreno, whatever, they're not, like, their defensive capabilities and qualities are not their strong suit. And so to keep them out there for a bulk of the time to me was a bit odd. Like, I just find it strange that they didn't. It became clear after the red card that the goal was, we are going to try to make it 1-0 until the end of the game. Like, we're just going to try to hang on. But we didn't make the personnel changes that might have, like, made that more feasible, I guess. I don't know. Like, bringing on a little bit more muscle, a little bit more of the, like, the workhorses, versus the, like, Alex Mendez is like a pure finesse guy. He's just not that physical of a player, relative to some of the guys we have. So I just thought I thought it a little bit interesting that there wasn't more of a reaction to the red if the game plan is we're going to try to just hang on, because we basically generate like 2 chances like the rest of the game.
Yeah.
Which, again, not that weird, but we didn't like do the stuff that you do when you bunker.
Right. It's like you left on the creators, but we weren't creative enough, but also like you seemed to want to play for the 1-0, but we didn't bring on the players to do that until it was arguably too late. Because let's go over it. At 67 minutes, he brings on Diego Abidia in place of Amando Moreno. Fine. Okay. A little more like pressing thrust up front. That makes sense, I suppose. Noah Dolomeier comes on for Gabriel Torres. Okay, like maybe we're starting to like bunker a little bit, or at least that seems like the kind of change that you'd want to make, which unfortunately I think Noah Dolomeier is also like at fault for the second goal in some ways, but anyway.
Yeah, I was gonna.
And then we start 77th minute, nothing much happening after that. We bring on Daniel Gomez and Carl Sante for Robert Coronado and Eric Calvillo. Those are like kind of like for like changes with like, at least with Calvillo to Gomez, it's like that's a downgrade. He gives the ball away for the goal, for the winning goal. Yeah, it just, I don't know. I don't know what the plan was. And to be fair, when you get a red card that early, like your plans do tend to go out the window a little bit. But I think you're right. I think you're right to point out that like we seemed like we wanted to bunker, but didn't make changes that like reflected that soon enough.
Right. And to your point, I mean, the guys that we brought on with the idea of, hey, preserving what at that point was a draw, don't like cover themselves in glory in moments. So yeah, bit of a just a bit strange. I mean, let's talk about the goal, the equalizer. Another upsetting trend emerging for us is that we're conceding goals at very bad times. This one coming in stoppage time at the end of the first half. It is well, it's essentially just like a case of Oakland recycling possession as they did a million times, and then a ball just going out to the left-hand side. Cross comes in. It's not particularly good, but it gets deflected. It gets deflected by like failed clearance. And then Kofi Chumasi like overruns it. So Quezada tried to get a foot on it, maybe gets a toe to it, sort of deflects it out into the path of Peter Wilson, who does this like improvised, clumsy sort of over the shoulder finish. But no one really is able to close it down. And it's just a very scruffy goal. And for the ball to get past, like the cross isn't stopped at the point of origin. It's kind of half like throw a boot at it and hope you do something from Quezada. Chumasi can't react, like doesn't react well to the deflection and isn't really close enough to Wilson. And then everybody else is tracking runners rather than Wilson. So it's just like it's one of those that it's not the sort of goal that you can concede when you're down a man and hope to hold on to a win. Like there were just too many errors for what we were trying to do, and not going into halftime at 1-0. At that point, you're thinking like, okay, well, we'll be lucky to get out of here with a draw.
Yeah, I mean, I think what killed me about this goal is like Peter Wilson. I mean, he's threatening all night, to be fair. One of the best poachers in the Western Conference, maybe in the league. I don't know, but for sure in the Western Conference. You felt he was getting something at some point in this game. But what killed me is him. It's in the 50th minute, so 45 plus 5. It's literally the last kick of the half, and he picks the ball out of the net and like runs to the center circle. I'm like, what are you doing? Like, you have another half. This, like, it was just very performative and odd. But anyway, speaking to kind of actually how this goal breaks down, I mean, yeah, it's disappointing. There's a lot of mistakes all around and just like lackadaisical defending. I think the way Kofi Tomasi just kind of like tries to like throw a boot at the cross coming in is really annoying. The fact that Peter Wilson's able to like sneak between him and Alfaro as easily as he does. And the goal is, I suppose it's a little bit similar to Rubio Rubin's in the sense that it's like near post, like just a really good, movement towards that area. And there's not really much Abraham Romero can do about it from that close. So I mean, good striker's finish, good poacher's finish, but I think there was something more that we could have done, especially because we were already pinned back in our area. So it's not like we were trying to regroup or reshape like on a counter or anything like that, or like a transition. So it's disappointing, but anytime you're down a man, it's just difficult to keep out good players like this. So that's how we end up going into the half all square. And like you said, that unfortunate trend continues of conceding at bad moments and conceding, quite frankly, just a lot. Like, we don't really keep clean sheets, especially lately. So that's disappointing for sure.
Yeah, it's been a stretch. I mean, just from a recent form, we gave up two in this game, 2 against New Mexico, 4 against Tulsa, just the 1 against Orange County in the Cup, 3 against San Antonio. So in the last 4 league games, we've conceded 11 goals.
That's not good.
So, and obviously Tulsa's like, I mean, there's all kinds of stuff you could say about Tulsa of, it got out of hand and it just like, that's an anomaly, but it's like, well, then it's still whatever 6 in the last 3. So not, even not counting Tulsa. So anyways, yeah, it's not good enough. It's like, it's unfortunate. And let's talk about the winner, I guess, because the nature of the winner too is it's too simple, I guess, is the easiest way to put it. Because as this goal is coming about, it's like we're all 10 men behind the ball. We're fully bunkered at this point, and we still somehow allow this like sequence to happen where we can't get out. Like we can't just boot it.
Yeah, I think Sante, the ball comes to him in the box during the sequence, but all he can do is really like,
yeah, it's like a half clearance,
like up rather than out.
Mm-hmm. And then
the pressure just keeps building from there.
Yeah, and then it was who was it even? Who was on by that time? Who gives the ball away?
It's Daniel Gomez.
Daniel Gomez, yeah. Right, as you said. So he gives the ball away, and then the way the ball is able to just kind of like trickle across to basically the most Gen Z named player that we've ever conceded to in Locomotive history, Tucker Lepley. He on loan from LA Galaxy. He cuts onto it. He cuts onto his left. He's a left-footed player, and it sucks because Noah Dolenmeyer has he hasn't played as much recently, but I would say in the minutes he's gotten this year, he's been quite good. Like I think he's been very solid. He obviously got the nod kind of out of the gate this season and got a lot of minutes. Since the international break, he's gotten less, but Lepley just like completely fools it. Like all he does is stutter once. Like it's kind of the oldest trick in the book. And Noah just stops for that split second to be able to create the half a yard to shape to shoot. And to me, it's just a little like he has so much help around that he bites on something that like it's not even, you don't even have to worry about it. Like just keep closing him down. But anyways, it's like if he goes outside, that's fine. Like if he cuts to the byline, like that's what you want. And he shows him inside when he's a left-footed player, like trying to shoot.
Yeah.
Which is just, it's unfortunately just not the right move. And I think maybe in that moment he's thinking this is a guy trying to cross. And instead he just puts it top bins.
Yeah, we should never have been under that much pressure in the first place. I think someone's got to clear it out. Sante, Gomez,
for sure.
Someone. But doesn't happen. And when it gets to Lepley, who coming onto the pitch, like they were making a lot about it on the commentary, like, oh, he's on loan from LA Galaxy, like this, like UCLA stud, blah, 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 like 3rd round draft pick. So like the narrative stew was simmering at this point, right? So like it just felt like Tucker Lepley was gonna do something, and sure enough he does. Noah, I think if he watches this film back, like he will hate it because he doesn't, like you said, like it looks like he's trying to like show him inside, and it's like no, he's left-footed, like that's like show him down the line, like right. to kind of get him off balance. But he doesn't really do that, and then he doesn't close him down either. So there's just like this awkward space, and I don't know if he was concerned about like maybe getting too touch tight and conceding a penalty, but the goal is from outside the box, so I don't think that was a realistic risk, if you will. But Lepley clearly a good player, and he roofs it. Again, not much Romero can do about it. I know we've had our qualms with him at times this season, but I don't think either of these goals are his fault. No. Obviously. But yeah, the one-on-one defending, I think it leaves something to be desired, but ideally that would just have never happened in the first place. Yeah. And yeah, it's difficult. But great finish. Congrats to Lepley, first game for his club on loan from Galaxy, as you said, and it's a great way to announce yourself to the Oakland faithful, to be fair. So,
yeah, the sort of player that Junior Gonzalez used to harm Locomotive with back in the day at Los Dos. So, obviously in context, okay, you take your lumps. It's a loss on the road. Those happen. It's a loss when you're down to 10. Those certainly happen. I think the nature of this particular loss in context is particularly tough, just given the struggles and the amount of sendings off and the fact that they do need a little bit of a kick. And it just felt from that first goal, I was like, oh, like we're good. And there is something about this team playing with the lead, I think, to a certain extent too. Where it's like we either concede first or we play poorly. If we do score first, we play poorly after. But so I don't know mentally what's going on there, and I know that's more of a historic issue of we used to in the rare times where we would take the lead, we would immediately retreat and try to play too much within ourselves. This is a little, mitigated by the red card, but in that sequence, or in that 10 minutes after the goal, there was maybe one other opportunity where it looked like we might score, but aside from that, it was kind of, we were looking more vulnerable instead of kind of stepping on the gas and getting a second and just putting them away, or like doing your best to just kill the game as a contest, like early on. We just don't really have that. It seems right now where we don't kind of put teams away. We immediately let teams believe that they can get back into it. And Oakland, to be fair, is not like, I think there are probably people who watch this who have watched, Locomotive for a while thinking like, it's Oakland, guys, like they're not very good. And this edition of Oakland is a much better side than what you're used to from Oakland Roots teams in the past. Ryan Martin does seem to be doing some good work out in the Bay. So
yeah. And it was their day, and that happens. But I think the way that we keep finding ourselves in these situations down a man with like, and our red cards are like happening to like our best players is just hurting us a lot. And like this, it just can't continue, can it? I mean,
yeah. And maybe the most frustrating thing about this whole stretch is they give you these glimpses of just how good a side they are, right? Like this Locomotive team, when they are humming, they can play. They could play anybody off the park. The sequence for the opening goal is gorgeous.
Game. Yeah, it's amazing. Some of the stuff we play is fantastic. The ball movement, the understanding.
And that's what pisses us off about the fact that when this happens, it's like a little bit worse, because in the past, it's like, yeah, we know we suck. But it's like, no, this team is very, very good. And when on their day, like they're capable of beating anyone. They just have these moments where it kind of lets down just how good the football is sometimes. And with the second goal, sure, he puts it in the top corner, but it's not like they just scored a worldie and that happens. It's a lot of self-induced, and some of these games you feel like you walk away where it's like El Paso made all of these goals possible, right? Like by playing some great football at one end and by playing some pretty shocking football at the other.
For sure. And I think, Junior Gonzalez will for sure be looking at himself and what he can improve and why this is happening, what his part is in it, because these are good players. Like I think, like you said, Tony Alfaro having a renaissance. Like I think he's been great. Like, and I'm pretty hard on Tony sometimes on this show, but I think he's been fantastic. Kofi Tomasi, like we really missed him. Quesada, been one of the quietly better players. Gabi Torres, like, again, unlucky, to get sent off, and that, but still, like, he's been fantastic as well. In the other end of the pitch, Mendez, Ruby, we don't have to say much more about them. Amanda Moreno, super fit, adding playmaking to his game, being the pass before the pass a lot of times, which you love to see a player at his age and, adding dimensions to his game. That's always great. So these are all, like, these are good players, right? And I'm not super, like, concerned that they're, like, lost quality overnight or something like that. I think, to be fair, like, the team is showing more than we expected when they were signed. But, yeah, we can't keep playing down a man. Like, this is just too much. And again, I think we're unlucky a little bit, and I don't know how we change that, but that's why Junior Gonzalez and his coaching staff get paid the big bucks, right? Because they have to answer for that. I don't know what the answer is, but I think one of the things that we've identified maybe is, like, if you're going to press high, like, press high, right? Like, don't leave these awkward spaces between the high back line and, like, and the rest of the lines. Like, that doesn't work. Yeah. That's how you get, two center backs combining for a goal on your home patch. That's how you get Palero Ortiz sent off. That's how you get the U.S. Open Cup falling away from you pretty much immediately, So there are patterns here that we can analyze for sure, but I do think we've been a little bit unlucky at times. Yeah. And for the record, when I wrote this Patreon piece, I was trying to analyze the past, not manifest the future. I feel a little bad that, like, yet another red card has happened since I wrote that piece, but hey, you'd be blind not to see this kind of pattern emerging here, an unfortunate one, to be fair. So,
and the best predictor of future performance is past performance. So,
right, exactly. So,
well, Locomotive getting they do get some time, and I don't know if it's better to have time to stew on this, because I think a lot of pros will probably tell you, like, they want to go out and set things right and just, like, get it off their minds. But unfortunately for Locomotive, there will be 18 days in between the loss to Oakland and the next time they take the field against AV Alta in the USL Cup, the Prinks Tires USL Cup. So yeah, still over 2 weeks before they play again on May 27th, but against lower league opposition. A lot of time for guys to get fit, for Junior to think about how he wants to tackle this next leg of games, because I imagine there's a weekend game, and I failed in my duties to look up what the weekend game is following the AV Alta game, because I'm sure that weekend there must be a game behind it.
Yeah, we host Lexington that
Okay.
Saturday. So
Interesting. Which important to remember that Lexington is in the West, because I often
despite
forget
being
that.
further east than Louisville. But
Yes,
yeah.
then their in-state rivals Louisville. They are, yeah. So that's an interesting stretch of games, and obviously selection is going to be just managing this whole long break and then 2 games in 3 days. It's at least they're home and home, I guess, is maybe the one thing you would say about it.
Right, yeah. So they don't have a lot of travel for the foreseeable, which is good because that is exhausting, to be honest.
Yeah.
So, but I mean, AV Alta, what do we know about these? Are we? I mean, I know it's like way too early to preview, but like,
not a whole lot. They are, I think, not as good as they were last year. They're kind of languishing.
I mean, they seem like they're getting too many draws. Like they might.
Mm-hmm.
Seems like they're just not able to bend results in their favor.
I will say, a draw against Boise, that's a good result. They lost to New Mexico last time out in the Cup. And then they beat Forward Madison in the league last weekend. So maybe improving results, because they got kind of smashed by Omaha and Spokane in back-to-back weeks before they went out and drew Boise. But those are also 2 of the class like outfits in League One, so
yeah,
could be some bad luck. It does seem like this fella with the really hard to pronounce name, Almaish. I don't know how you would say that.
That or like Almaik. I don't know.
Al Mike. And Jerry Desdunes would be the other player to watch out for, just in terms of danger. But yeah, I mean, I have a blind spot for AV Alta, because the only team that I really can. Well, there's 2 teams. There's 2 teams in League One that I have time for, and that is Portland Hearts of Pine, because I made the visit out there last year, and AC Boise, which is truly the League One team that has my heart because of one Dennis Castician.
Yep, Dennis, Toomey,
to a slightly
Javier,
lesser extent.
Yeah, Javier recently of Cosmos.
Mm-hmm.
Recently gone to Cosmos. Yeah, it's AV Alta. You know what I appreciate, that it makes no difference, but it's just interesting that I have no idea where they are based just on their club name, which is not often the case in U.S. soccer. So that's cool, because I'm like, this could be anywhere.
The Antelope Valley.
Yeah, I didn't know that until I like looked it up. And once again, they're in California, so like we cannot take anything for granted, because this could be like a Central Valley Fuego, Electric Boogaloo too. You know what I'm saying? Like we cannot. And they're going to be playing throughout it, so they'll be fit.
Mm-hmm.
You know, they'll be up for it, because they've got 2 league matches in the time that we're just here training, getting better and whatnot. So
that is coming up. But Mikka, the biggest news in Loco land, that is, I would imagine, we're recording this on Monday night, but as this is hitting the airwaves on people's Tuesday mornings, the news that is probably hitting the American soccer world, I guess, in many ways, Locomotive have made a bit of a blockbuster signing from the Premier League.
I mean, that is one way to put it, I suppose. Yeah, I mean, 2 months ago at the very beginning of the season, it was well reported, well documented that Ted Lasso actor Cristo Fernandez, who plays Danny Rojas in the Ted Lasso show on Apple TV, was training with the club. I spotted him with my own eyes at Southwest University Park, so he's definitely been around the place. And it does seem like he's finally going to sign as a player for El Paso Locomotive FC. So just wild times in USL Championship and in Locomotive recent history. I don't know what to think. I've never seen the guy play like a real game of football. He is an actor. Yeah. And yes, he did play as a young man, like as a teenager, before apparently some pretty serious injuries. But we're told the man can ball, and that he would not be signing a contract if he couldn't contribute something to the team on the pitch. And perhaps the reason why it's taken this time is just to get things settled with, his other commitments as a fully professional actor. Yep. So fascinating stuff. It's hard not to say, like, is this just a publicity stunt, right? Because, like, what else does it look like? But at the same time, like, I'm willing to see what he can do. He seems to really want to play the game and to have a passion and a love for the game and to want to take it seriously. He looks fantastic. I'll give him that. Like, he looks very fit, but he is 35 years old. So yeah, it's just going to be fascinating to see what he can bring and, the kind of new eyes that will be on our team, I think.
Yeah. That is the part that I think is we'll be finding this out, like a message to our future selves of, like, I don't know what the reaction is going to be like, because it's one of those things that got teased. The reaction was maybe more muted than I thought, but then it was like kind of cast doubt on like whether or not he would actually sign anywhere. Every team in North America made memes about him signing for them. So like, it's just a very weird situation, because it's like, will it hit in the way that they think? Mm-hmm. And I mean, at the end of the day, it, of course, like, I won't say a stunt, but it is a PR thing, right? Of course, like that's there is that hit. The question is, like, is it just that? And the only way that we'll find that out is his contributions, like, on the pitch, right? Like, because the only way that it's not a publicity stunt is if he is contributing, like he is getting on the field, he is like, doesn't look out of place, like doesn't, that sort of stuff. Like, I'm not expecting it. Like, he's gonna do substitute minutes, like, at most, right? Like, in the initial stages,
scenes when he's leading the line against AVL to start.
That actually could very well happen. Like, I really do think that could happen.
Well, I mean, from what you and I understand, he is going to be rostered as a forward.
Mm-hmm.
Is Danny Rojas a forward?
Yeah.
He is. Okay.
Yep.
Just double checking.
Yeah.
So, Rubio Rubin, that's tough competition to displace. So we'll have to see how that works. But
yeah, I think the idea that something like this, it's been in the works obviously for quite a while. We would only be speculating if we said why it took this long. So the reality now is, like we said from the beginning, I think we've talked about this before when it was all hypothetical. The thing that you don't want in the case where something like this is happening, it's obviously exceptional in many ways. It is going to be a PR bump for the team, and like, everybody swears up and down that he can contribute at this level, which I think is important, because what you don't want is that they've done it at the expense of signing other players who could help the team.
Mm-hmm.
And so the onus now, like, there is sort of a shared responsibility now for Locomotive and Christo to like make it not that, right? Like go make it a legit signing.
Mm-hmm.
You're gonna get the PR hit for it, and like you're gonna get the bump. So,
and if he's really good, like that's
hell yeah,
that's all the better for like
hell yeah,
the PR hit. You know what I'm saying? Like
exactly. But like, you know, I think there will be cynics who will say that it is purely PR, and it is now on Christo. Like the pressure's kind of on him personally to prove that it's not, right, that he didn't take a roster spot from somebody like who deserved it, right? Like that he earned it and deserved it and is going to go like earn his keep. So I think it's a tough spot for him to be in, because the pressure is on in many ways, because I think there will just be a lot of people who are cynical about it. And I think for me, it's just like, I am happy for it to be whatever, like whatever, as long as he is able to contribute. I mean, especially we've seen Omar Mora. Like, I kind of joked about the fact that we had a lot of academy products involved in the team. Omar Mora has been like awesome off the bench this
works
year.
Very hard. Yeah.
Hard worker. He's put in a lot of, so expectations, you know, at least at that level, like you gotta come in and put in the work. So but yeah, I think it's fun. Like, it's fun in many ways. It will almost certainly get a lot of attention within U.S. soccer circles, and I'm very, very interested to see like what that translates to in terms of like on-field contributions.
Yeah, absolutely. I hope it is a smash, honestly. Like,
hell yeah.
It would be great.
The best story in American soccer.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, you know, from what we hear, he's been training with the team most of the time. So yeah, they've gotten, I would think, a good look at him by now, and have determined, you know, that it would be in the best interest of the club to sign him. I think it's just a deal for this season, and then they can revisit. But yeah, it's this time tomorrow will be very interesting to see all the takes.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah. So very, very, interesting days in Locomotive. Need a bit of a shot in the arm, but a little bit of time for the squad away. They'll let the hype wash over them. I do actually, now that I'm thinking about it, I'm like, the timing of the announcement is a bit odd, because
you have to wait a while to see anything, to see a glimpse of him in the Locomotive blue. Yeah.
I'm surprised that they didn't. If you had to wait this whole time, like, you could do it, you know, the week of the Alta match, and then he like makes his debut or whatever. But what do I know?
Yeah. Yep.
So, well, I think that about does it. Any Locomotive stuff that we didn't touch on?
No, I mean, we will try to keep the content going through this little lull, 18-day lull.
Mm-hmm.
We'll try to have some guests on the podcast. If I'm able to write something, of course I will. But yeah, thanks for listening, and hopefully we will turn this form around, because it's been rough.
Well, at least you've got a title race on your hands for your other team.
What do you mean at least? That's all. I'm also suffering, like watching our.
You got a potential double.
I know, that's insane. That's insane. Yeah. For those of you that are paying attention to the Premier League title race, it is crazy. So, yeah. I'm also trying to finish top of our Seriously Local, like, FPL mini league. Like I just took first place
Nice.
recently, like this week, but I don't know if I'm gonna hang on to it. We'll see. We'll see.
Nice. It seems like Christian gets serious about it just in time to win, but no, enjoy. I will say enjoy the stress while it lasts, because when you're watching your team boo substitution at home, it will make you pine for the halcyon days. But no, yeah. It's super exciting for you guys. I know it's been a long old journey to get to this point. So
still work to do.
Still work to do. All that said, thanks for listening, and you can find us, like I said, on wherever you get your podcasts, and check us out on Patreon. And I think until next time, hopefully with a special guest, stay loco.